Hey, what's up, everybody? Juan Martinez, a.k.a. Dr. Love.
And I'm Stephanie Martinez-Reyes.
And you've just joined us on This Is Real. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week to a show with real people, real problems, real solutions. To all my real ones out there, I want to thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're so glad that you've joined us, man. We are just ready for an incredible show. But then also, before we start, because we've got to put that in there, we've been going for a week trying to get Pastor Juan's new book. It's Prison Break.
What?
New York Times bestseller. So thank you to everyone who has already pre-ordered your copy. We need to get 5,000 in a week.
5,000 in a week. And listen,
yes.
This has to happen. Let me tell you, it's not just about getting like the trophy or the accolade.
No.
Like the reality is that I want to hit that one day, because as I was telling everybody, I was praying one morning and I felt like that got dropped into my spirit. And the reality is that when a guy like us makes it, that, came out of prison or was addicted to drugs or really like, people understand that they came from the bottom, pretty much it gives everybody else hope to be able to achieve. Maybe for them it's not a New York Times bestseller. Yeah. Maybe for them it's getting their plumber's license or, open up a business or whatever, because I believe that you can achieve anything is possible when you're in Christ, right?
Yeah. And whether you get the book for yourself or you gift it to somebody, it's going to be a blessing. So we already know, if you're watching this, if you're one of the real ones, you know that everything that's in here is going to help you just break your mindset into one that's submitted unto the Lord and free from any old patterns. So
I really like how you said that. You said if you're one of the real ones. Ooh, they just put a chat. That just like if you're one of the real ones, you'll have one of these. Yeah. And if you're not, then you won't. Call your family, call your friends, tell everybody to get a book. Because I believe just with the people, I think we've reached over 2,400,000, something like that.
Yeah.
On the Pando app, people are incarcerated. If everybody called their family, it would change the game. Think about it. 2 million folks, right? It's just $17. And you say, well, I don't have $17. You give it to Starbucks, you give it to Chick-fil-A, God's Chicken, you give it to everybody, I mean, so this is a really good book. I had a couple of interviews on the radio, nice. Which was interesting, because I was like the guest on another radio show. And, they were the guy's kind of like going through it, and he's like talking about how his life's changing, and as I told him, I know it's the Word of God, that Jesus is the Word, and the Word of God is where's the truth. This is just a tool to get you actually learning how to actively listen, right? So I put prayer in there. After each day, there's a way to listen. There's a way to talk to God. I even give you a prayer, and then I give you some questions so you could kind of write it in, and you could start your daily walk that will continue after these 21 days. That's the goal.
Absolutely.
Okay, so today I want to say in the house, but because he's here, I want to say his house. You know what I'm saying? And so Dr. Nisi Hamilton. What's going on?
Welcome.
Hey, Bishop, what's going on? I'm happy I'm here.
Let me tell you, you've been doing a lot of traveling. You've been doing all this stuff, right?
I'm always in the air.
Man, that's you got your spiritual billionaire shirt. So I know, like, spiritually, you got billions. You're like, let's manifest that into the natural.
Yes, because I'm a heavenkin.
Oh, hold up.
Nice.
Man. Hey, man, I was reading some of the stuff here. Is an award-winning child trafficking survivor.
Yes.
Chair Rotary Club of Herman Park, right? So you got the number there. You got the hashtag with the number. For over 5 years. You're a veteran of the U.S. Navy.
I did.
No, you were not. Yeah. Hold on, give me some. Hey, I was in the Navy too.
Shut up already.
Hey, listen, you were celebrating with me when I got my doctorate because you got your doctorate, and now I'm like, wait a minute, man, what are we, like, family or what?
Oh, we all the way family.
Look, what were you in?
I'm talking some U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
I was in the
U.S. Navy, but
Guantanamo Bay was my. I'm thinking about ships. You got my head going in ships. I'm all the way in Chicago when I went through boot camp. Like, I'm all these different places.
You went to Great Mistakes.
Oh yeah, Great.
I went there too. Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's cold out there. I was there. I was in Chi-Town when Cabrini Green and the projects and all, like, it was just rough out there.
It was.
Yeah.
Try mooring the ship while it's cold, while it's like negative 18.
Oh, no, yeah.
Degrees.
I was on the Enterprise.
Man.
USS Enterprise.
Well,
now it's Razors.
So what was your MOS? Because I was an MA. I was a Master at Arms, but I did more
admin
hold
work. Up. I did more airman work on the flight deck.
I ain't snitch on nobody. I just want to put that out there. I want that person.
You got the 2-time presidential award. Man, Texas Smart Act. I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on. You had said something about you got a bill get passed. So you got a lot of things happening here.
Yeah.
Wow. Global advisor. Hold up, man. When we start using words like global, you know what I'm saying? You worldwide
today.
You know. Man, that's dope. But it wasn't always like that for you, right? Because even here at the end it says her most recent documentary called The Life is published on PBS, and she is nominated for her second Emmy Award.
Yes.
Hold up.
Come on.
Hold up.
I'm excited about that.
Let's do.
Yeah.
And so we got you in the show, so we're gonna keep it real and raw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So I read all that. Because, man, these are great accomplishments. This is a lot of things. You know, when I read this, I'm like, man, like it looked like you never got in trouble. You gonna say?
That's a lie.
And I want to put that out there because, okay, you said you're a child trafficking survivor. So what did your life look like before any of this? What did that look like?
Well, I mean, I didn't have the best life growing up. I grew up in the times where every parent was saying, you know, I did the best I could. That generation that said that. Yeah. And typically the people that said I did the best I could came from your grandmother raising you. Yeah. So if you had a surrogate parent, then it was always best I could, but it was always best I could with what I had. Mm-hmm. And so whatever that what I had was, that's what I was raised out of. So if it was defrauding the government so they could get a check, that's what they had. Yeah. If it was welfare, it was what they had. You know, food stamps, Medicaid, you know, whatever it was. If it was, you know, living in a Haverstock Hill, because that's where we lived at. Yeah. Then that's what we had. That was like Aldine Mill Route. Yeah. But Haverstock Hill
Houston.
It's Houston, yeah. Like it's the raunchiest, ghettoest place you can live in. Like right now it's infested with nothing but, you know, HIV.
Really?
You know, oh man, it's still the same way from when I was a child all the way to, you know, being an adult. I remember I didn't even start school till the 2nd grade, you know, and I went to Francis Elementary, and I don't even think the school is there anymore. But I remember, you know, growing up, we instead of reading books, you know, we had Hooked on Phonics. Remember?
I remember totally Hooked on Phonics. Yeah.
So that was my first time ever picking up something to read it. You know, when we were, you know, turning our paperwork, it was, you know, did you read a book this week? I didn't have any books. I only read the dictionary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's all I had. So I would always just put the words that I, you know, read in the dictionary. And so the teacher was like, are you just copying the words from the dictionary? I was like, no, that's the only book I have is the dictionary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of resources is what the picture that I'm painting to you.
Yeah, totally.
And so the most valued resource was a girl and her body.
Yeah.
And what she could do with it.
Yeah.
That was my value system.
That was your value system. That's what you learned.
That was it.
Because once you do that the first time, then it's like, okay, I could do this.
Once somebody show you how to do it.
Once somebody show you how to do it.
Once they show you, it's over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, game over. It's like, and once you see it and you know that's what it is, then that's the only thing you want to go to.
And that's all you know. Because that's the environment you're in. That's the people you're hanging out with. Everybody do, you know, like these people are doing it successfully and these aren't, but everybody doing it.
Right. There's a lot of social engineering that goes into the mindset of somebody who is trafficked, somebody who is being trafficked, you know, where you learn it from and things like that. So trafficking is a generational impediment.
Yeah.
And I mean, to get down to the nitty gritty of the thing, it is social engineering, but it is ancient chains of sexual rebellion. So this was here way before I was even thought of.
Yeah. Before it hit the hood.
Yeah, before it even hit the hood. Mm-hmm. It was everywhere. You know? The issue is, what do we do when it's in our community? and people don't have a name for it. They don't know how to digress from it. They don't know how to say, okay, well, let me put that down to pick this up. And everybody, whether they believe it or not, has been in a trafficking situation. You know, if you ever had to sleep with John down the street for your kids to get some tennis shoes and some school supplies, that's trafficking.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you can't go sell your body for your no baby tennis shoes. But I get it though. The disposition is, well, I'm a mother. I have a need, and the only way I can support this need is if I give up something.
Yeah.
You know, and so not only does it make you as a woman less desirable, but then you also train the man to think a certain kind of way, because men, you know, it's autonomous that y'all think provider, right? For some men, not all men. Let me just put that out. Some men, you know, and in his mind, if he's receiving a service, then because he paid you, then he's provided. So he excuses himself from what's actually going on, from what's actually being taking place.
Wow.
And so then you have this whole, you know, economic imbalance of what's going on, and these men that perpetuate these ideas, as well as the women, because the women have said, look, this is what I want to do. So could you imagine? And listen, for all my fellas that are listening to, we're talking about this is coupled with the crack era. You know what I'm saying?
Like, oh yeah, totally. Well, I mean, even now, like it's almost like they, little by little, they almost, even though there's this one side that, oh, trafficking and prostitution and all that stuff, it's almost like little by little, it's almost more, they're trying to numb it by like OnlyFans.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like social media is kind of really
empowerment and feminism, but it's still the same thing you're saying. You know, giving of your body for something.
Because when I was growing up, like what we saw on television, like I mean, I'm just being like we're all on This Is Real. So I mean, I'm a kid trying to sneak in a Playboy look, right? And even that was kind of like not what that is like on social media. like now that is like the normal. What to us was like, you know, what are you watching? Now that's pretty much normal.
I remember I worked at the airport, and they still sell the magazines, but then at some point they had to put the little black cover over them.
To protect children.
To protect, but it was like, you know,
it's pretty normal the way people are dressing today. It's like, you know, what was like, oh my God, like you couldn't tell, and I'm sorry, but you can't sometimes tell, you know, prostitution from like just a regular person the way they dress today.
You ain't never
I mean, you get what I'm saying? You can't. Like you could tell back then. You're like, yo, like when we was in New York and we go down the block, we're like, okay, that's a prostitute.
Right.
You with me? Like you could tell like how she was rocking, and you could tell pimp ain't far away, right? Nowadays, they're just you go to Galleria, they just camouflage. It's just in there.
They look like the rest.
They look like a regular version. Because the regular people are dressing like.
Come on.
The regular people are dressing like so you can't distinguish who's what, and it's normal that if you say something, people will get offended. They'd be like, "What? You call me? You know, like I'm a teacher." You're like, "What the heck?" You know,
like, why you dressing
why you like that?
Why you embracing?
Yes, well, and you know, like you said, it's probably a mindset that started way long ago that has normalized. Like it's just normal. You know, TV shows, everything is like it's. Pretty much like you almost can't watch anything, but you're trying to really guard your eyes and your ears. You know?
Right. Well, because sex sells. And I think that when we transitioned from slavery, we only dealt with one type of slavery, which was the laborious side of slavery. Yeah. We didn't deal with the sex side. Yeah. We didn't deal with what was happening to women's bodies and, you know, how many, you know, women the master could have, because back then women were to be seen and not heard. And that's what, you know, and I think that's why my white sisters, I love white women, but
hold on.
No,
go ahead. Do you think?
It's like, you know, they suffered too with us.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, you know, your man, who is this white man, wanting to sleep with the maid?
Oh no, with the maid. Oh,
you know, and not wanting to, doing it because he can.
Yeah, and they had to shut it. Like they really couldn't say nothing about it. You had to take it.
They couldn't say nothing, and. You know, to see the divide between white women and black women today, and they both suffered the same type of abuse. Yeah. I wonder why we can't come together more. Yeah. And why we don't see ourselves in that same situation versus, oh no, well you did this to me, you know, and I suffered more because of this, X, Y, and Z, da da da.
When you get out? How did that happen? Like, when did you meet Jesus? Like, what happened? Okay, because obviously we know, like, obviously we could all, okay, this is kind of probably what happened in her life, But what was the moment where you kind of were like, okay,
let's make this change? Well,
because some people still haven't gotten out. That you probably know some people that are still kind of like.
Only 1% of girls who've been trafficked actually make it out.
Wow.
Just 1%.
Wow.
That's not a thing that girls automatically do, because there's no support system.
Yeah.
That supports girls actually coming out of that particular life.
Yeah.
But I will say, I actually met Jesus on my way in. Trafficking. I was 14 years old in the courtroom, and I remember the judge asking me to divorce my mother. And I remember thinking, man, you can divorce your mother? Like, is this what emancipation is? Everything was told to me. It was given to me in layman terms so that I could understand on my level. And I remember thinking to myself, honor thy mother and thy father. I was like, I love my mother. She's not a good mother.
So they gave you an opportunity to divorce.
My God, today. Yeah.
My mother would have killed me. She would have jumped on you divorced what?
Exactly. Get a chocolate and just start going for it.
Chocolate, tear, everything would have came out. She's like,
broomstick, yeah.
But that's where we at today, right?
Yeah, that's where we at. I've never in my life seen so many kids want to be separated from their parents because they don't like the parents that God chose for them. Mm-hmm. And I could have said the same things. I didn't meet my father till I was 30 years old. My mom, she was a well-known prostitute.
Okay.
Her name, she was Strawberry downtown hoe. HPD knew who she was.
Wow.
She had been arrested many times for prostitution. Like, this wasn't,
So you grew up into that norm. It was like normal.
Yeah, it was normal. It was normal to see my mother walk in the streets. It was normal to see my mother asking for drug money. It was like, it was normal to see her get caught up.
Yeah.
That was her life. And I remember, because at that particular time I had told the judge no, every other offer that was on the table was off the table. Wow. Like, my college was off the table, as far as, the state taking care of me, it was off the table. I was pretty much on my own at that particular point. 9 months after being released from, that scenario, my grandmother died. She had SMC, which is sole manager conservatorship, meaning nobody else had conservatorship over me. Nobody else had custody over me. So once my custodian parent died, I was an orphan. And it was it. I remember watching my aunt and my uncle. They packed my grandmother's apartment up and moved. Didn't tell me nothing.
Wow. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, how old were you there?
So I was 15 at that particular time.
So you met your dad when you were 30?
When I was 30.
Okay. So how was that?
It was interesting.
So your mom, prostitute, known prostitute, where's she at today?
So my mother was murdered in 2008 by her pimp. And I didn't find out until, HPD didn't reach out to me until 2011. Actually, it was on CNN. CNN, they had a how CNN, they have the news, and then on the bottom they have that little thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the news.
Don't tell me that's what you saw.
My God, today I seen my mama name. They was like looking for the last living relatives of, and at that particular time, I was at Great Lakes. I was in the military already, so.
Man, you got me right there, because I can't even imagine.
My God. So, you know what I'm saying? People trying to call me, you can't really call me, so I'm having to go to the payphone,
totally.
Where you make the calls at and stuff while you're in boot camp. And I was just like, oh, man, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah.
When I didn't actually find her remains. See, Harris County reached out to me. No, it was the HPD that reached out to me, once we did the verification and stuff. And I was at work. I was working in Harris County at the time. And I remember, getting a phone call, okay, we need you to identify these remains. Just a bag of bones. What am I going to do with this at this particular point and stuff. And I remember going to see my mother's grave, and it said, it didn't have her name because it didn't know who she was. You know, that he had beat her to death, left her in an abandoned home on Waco and Orange Street, Fifth Ward, and her body had, you know, just deteriorated in the
from
floor.
being left there.
Yeah. And so they was having to get the wood panels in the floor to get DNA so that they could run it through AFIS to figure out who she was. So, you know, so this was, it took 3 years.
Wow.
You know, from 2008 to 2011. It's like it took 3 years to find all of this stuff out.
Wow.
So.
And so your dad, what was your dad like? You know, did you ever meet him before, or you met him for the first time when
I was 30? Yeah, I met him for the first time. When I met my dad, I mean, it was very funny because my dad, you know, looked like what's his name? Is it Jackie Robinson? Or is it not Jackie Robinson, but it was what's his name? He old school, he light skinned, he had the blue eyes, and he used to
You're light skin. I'm like, light skin. He look like me.
He do.
I'm kidding. I'm
like, whoa, wait a minute, this mulatto looking man, you know. And I hear this, I look like Lil' Kim, and I'm like, you sure?
Hey! Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Like, okay, you know, this.
Don't hit with the little dance.
Yeah, right. And so, my dad, he was happy to meet me.
Yeah.
Because out of all his children, I'm the only one of his children that went to the military. And it was just so fascinating to him to see me out of all his children, you know, my life looked just like his life. Like, he couldn't even deny me. He was like, even if I wanted to deny you, I couldn't even deny you.
That's fire.
It was just crazy.
So, okay. So you get out, 14, right? I mean, you met Jesus like 8 years ago? Like, really had an encounter with him?
Yeah, really had an encounter. Yeah, because I remember when the church, at that time I was at Pleasant Hill Church of Deliverance under Pastor Gene and Gail Johnson. And I remember, I can't think of this apostle name, but she was praying over me. I see her face, can't think of her name. And I remember she was prophesying over me, and I cried out, Bishop, and I was like, I don't want to go. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go, because I already knew. I was like, my life is going to be under public scrutiny. But the rest of my life, I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it.
We want to thank all of our partners who support us. Because of you, This Is Real has a tremendous reach from Houston to Galveston and up to the Austin area.
This show reaches over 100 prisons nationwide with over 500,000 inmates tuning in weekly to hear the good news through our radio show and the Pando app.
To partner with us, visit juanmartinez.tv or download the free Get Rap TV
app. And I finally broke down, and I was like, all right, God, I'm going to go ahead and do it.
So you were wrestling.
Yeah. I wrestled with the Lord. It was such a Jacob moment.
Yeah.
Like, I was fighting that thing. I didn't want to do it, because I was like, man, you know, how I'm going to get married, you know, because everybody got the imagery in their head. You know, you can't turn hoes into housewives.
Yeah.
You know, at that particular time, I didn't have my kids. So I ended up being the first person in the state of Texas where I was sued for child support by the men who had trafficked me. Wow. And they won, so I had to pay my traffickers child support.
You're kidding.
No, I kid you not.
That's a trip. That's a whole nother show.
Ooh, that's a whole man, my God, today I was like, I don't want them kids. I don't want, you know, I was angry.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when is it ever gonna be just about me? When I'm gonna have my life to myself?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You know, I wasn't the person or the mother that I am today.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest frustration was fighting people who didn't recognize that, because I realized that people had not dealt with trafficking. People had not come to the realization of what that type of trauma would do to a little girl, what it would do to her, you know, growing up and stuff. And it's like, once you deal with foster care and once you deal with CPS, you know, that's a ploy, that's a tactic for that's Pharaoh. Okay?
Yeah.
That's like, that's baby Egypt.
Yeah.
That is a way for the state to make money off of you. Once you in there, they're going to make money off you. They're going to make money off your children and stuff, because they got to keep getting grant money. They got to keep up with these lies and stuff to say why they need their facility in recognition, why it needs to be running and stuff. So what do you do with that?
Yeah.
How do you respond with that lifestyle when your mind is trying to focus on being a mother, but you at the same time You got the judges coming at you, CPS caseworkers and their opinions coming at you. You got all these parodies, what's in the best interest of the child. And it's just court. Like the first 20 years of my life was court.
Wow. So how'd you, were you getting high? Your life?
Drugs.
You ain't never been on drugs? Oh, y'all gotta ask, right? Because that's the assumption that instantly, okay, she's on drugs, so she's out there doing her thing.
Man, every time they tried to get me, they couldn't get me. My drug was 151. If they had did an alcohol test, they would have got me.
Yeah, they would have got you.
I got. But as far as the drugs was concerned, I used to, when people ask me why I didn't do drugs, I said my mama did enough crack for the both of us.
Yeah.
I never wanted to do something where if I did it that one time, I'd be hooked.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't my thing.
Yeah. So what were some of the hardest things in getting out? Like what were some of the hardest things? Like what were some of the battles that you went through? Because it can't just be like that easy, right? Or was it?
Right. So I think the first battle you're going to go through is letting go of your family. I really truly felt what Abraham went through. Walking away from his family.
Yeah.
Letting go of those old ideas, those old ideologies, things that keep you in prison. It was a real prison break.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
Go get that book.
Go get that book.
Yeah. It was a real prison break for me. And sometimes when people walking away, they want to, once you know who you are and what the Lord wants you to do, you start thinking that you have clearance to go get the others.
Yeah.
And I didn't have clearance to go get the others. I didn't even have clearance to go raise the other people's, self-awareness up about what was going on. That was not my job. The Lord said, let him do what he do, but I do what he say do. And sometimes, that can be a distraction. Your family can be a distraction to your breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't need them because it didn't have nothing to do with me being hurt. It didn't have nothing to do with me, getting the healing. It just had something to do with me gaining momentum. I couldn't get the momentum I needed.
Yeah.
Carrying the weight of their ideas and their opinions and what was supposed to happen on my back, because I was already carrying the weight from them saying I was gonna be like my mama. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They had already made up in their mind. She ain't gonna do nothing be like her mama. Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're a doctor.
Right. And I'm on TV. And then, it's like you can't stop it. It's like, so what's being like my mama? My mama went to her grave early, so I figure if she died early, well then I need to get the move on what it is I got to do. Not to say I'm gonna die early, but just saying, like I ain't got time to be playing these rudimentary elementary games with y'all because this is my life. And if you truly want deliverance, if you truly want out, the same amount of work that it took for you to get in that sin, it's the same amount of work it's going to take for you to get out of that sin.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't let people play with me like that. So
she's got a lot of wisdom. So I wanna do Dear Younger Me with her.
For sure.
Hit that.
All right. So if you could go back to a younger version of yourself, right? So we picture the DeLorean, take us back. It could be
back
15,
to the future.
18, it don't matter. Even as a child. And if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would you tell? Like, what age do you go back to? And then what would you tell yourself?
I would go back to being 14 in court. I would still make the same decision I made where I didn't divorce my mother.
Yeah.
But I would tell myself that in a time of peace, that's when you prepare for war. Mm-hmm. Had I prepared my mind for war and had I been mentally prepared for, the next 20 years of my life after 14 being in court, I would have been an attorney a long time ago. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things I've gotten done is without me being an attorney at all. You know how I got my kids back? I was working for this white lady, and God bless her. I love this woman. Mm-hmm. I would take a bullet for this woman. Her name is Julie Ketterman. I'll never forget this woman. This woman called me one day. She had my case. She was my court-appointed attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had my case, and she said, I don't know what it is, but something about you. And she made me go over my story with her. And she opened up all my CPS documents. And she told me to circle and underline and highlight everything in there. That's a lie. Man, that was so prophetic.
Yeah.
I was like, shut up. I can do that. She was like, I'm going to show you how to take control of your life. Like, I ain't never seen nothing like this before in my life. It felt like it almost felt wizardry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you speak in the king's language. When you're in court, you have to speak the king's language.
All day long.
You have to approach the king with that terminology. You know, you have to petition the court. You have to do a pleading. You have to write an affidavit. And some people just go in there wanting to, you know, run off at the mouth, and that paper needs to be just as loud as your mouth. You can't do that. That's why they say anything you say or do will be used against you in a court of law. So you got to be careful what you say. You got to be careful what you do.
People taking notes right now. They're like,
I know, right? And so this woman, she told me, you gonna come work for me, and I was like, and do what? She was like, you gonna be a paralegal. I was like, what the hell is a paralegal? I ain't never heard this stuff before in my life. My mind, I think I was 25. I was 25. 14 to 25, you ain't thinking about that. I'm just, you know what I'm saying, just trying to get my kids back. I wouldn't think about nothing like this.
Yeah.
She tell me I'm going to be a paralegal. And then I started working for it the first week and stuff. And she was like, okay, you good with this? She was like, how bad you want your kids? I said, I want them real bad. She said, I tell you what. She gave me a book. It was by this thick, Pastor Warren.
And had you read it?
And not make me read it, made me study it. She said, you gonna study this book and you gonna tell me how to get your kids back. You mean I had to write my own pleadings. She said, whatever I get wrong is not because I got it wrong. It's because you didn't plead right. I said, okay. I must have stayed in her office till 10 o'clock at night, every night, reading the family code, Pastor Warren. The family code. From the time it changed, I went all the way to 2017, all the way up to, I think at that time, when I started it couldn't have been 2017. So this was like I went all the way to 2013, all the way to like 2016.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading all these books in between so I can figure out what it is I need to do.
Yeah.
That's how I learned.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to put you back in the car. So, you said what you would have said to yourself and you came back, right? Yeah. But when you got back, Stephanie had white hair because she's the guy that was like, come on. She's the one that's taking you back. So I want to put you back in the car, okay?
Okay.
And I'd like you to go back to right before your mother passed. What would you say to your mom? I want you to take a moment and think. So you came back in the car. You're there and she's there. Maybe she's sitting right before she went into that building. Like what kind of conversation? What would you say to your mom if you could talk to her right at that moment?
We gonna get out of this.
Talk to her. I want to hear you talk to her because
I want to cry.
It's all right. That's all right. Because you know what? There's somebody that can talk to their mom.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say? What would you say to your mom at that moment if you can talk to her? I want you to talk to her.
Like, man. You won't do this in vain. Like it's not gonna end like this. Man. I think the hardest thing dealing with my mother's death is that
talk to her. I want you to talk to her. Yeah.
Mama.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Man, I think the hardest thing I've had to deal with is knowing that you died alone, and I wasn't there to give you a proper burial. You're not unknown to me. I know who you are. You're somebody to me, and I wish I could take away your pain, which you suffered through from your uncle giving you crack. from your mama, you know, allowing you to sleep with her children's father so they can have a roof over their head. Like, man, I wish I could have been your armor bearer. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to somebody that maybe, you know, a woman that's out there that maybe is in the industry, or maybe, you know, been trafficked, or maybe it's a person that she gets high? Maybe, what would you say to them if they're, you know, they're all ears right now? You got their attention. What would you say to them?
The same thing I tell my kids every day. You were born looking like your mother and your father, but you died looking like your decisions. Who you choose to honor will determine the outcome of your life. But who you choose to not honor will also determine the outcome of your life. And, I mean, it is written, you know, you cannot fight against what has already been written. In Genesis, God called Abraham a father.
Yeah.
But in John, God called Satan a father. One of them was a father of nations, but the other one was a father of lies. And we understand why strippers call their pimps daddy. Because he is a father, but he's a father of lies.
Yeah. I want to ask you one final question. Why aren't churches talking more about human trafficking? Some churches do, some churches don't. Why is that?
Because professional opinion, churches don't have provisions for the streetwalkers, the lady of the streets,
lady of the night,
the lady of the night, the prostitute. They don't have provisions for them, because we didn't fill our storehouse. The church filled their pockets.
Yeah.
And I still to this day wonder why churches don't have apartments. We keep every building fund is to build out the church and to pay the church off, but then we don't get into good debt. Borrow against the debt once the church is paid off, and then go get an apartment building next to the church for people like that.
Yeah.
That makes, material sense to me. But for whatever reason, we are stuck on helping individuals as they ask for help. We'll give the help. So our storehouses are empty. We haven't even stored up for what the Lord told us to make provisions for. It was only 2 people we were commanded to take care of, and it was the widows and the orphans. Or the widows and the fatherless. And we have not done our just duty.
Oh, yeah. And, you said something earlier before the show where you were like, come as you are. But, sometimes some churches are not, you know what I'm saying? Because
prepared.
some are, right. And some aren't prepared to, you hear it talked a lot about now when they're like, hey, what are you going to do? And homosexuals show up to your church or trans, right? But it's the same concept what are you going to do when this... we're like, come, and then it's a ex-stripper, and she's, you got to figure out, how they're dressed or all this stuff.
Do you have clothes in your church where if she's there, you can, one of your
can help her,
right? Whoever's watching the door, all your people. That's hey, come on, I got a dress in here. Let me put it on you. It's nice fitting, but it's gonna cover you up, and you still, be in church. Where is that at?
Yeah,
that's not provision.
Hey, where can they get in contact with you? Where can they find you? If they're like, hey, we want more information on human trafficking, or maybe there's a church that's like, hey, I want you to come out and kind of talk to us, a little bit. Where can they reach you at?
Just Google Nissi Hamilton, Nissi Hamilton. And you'll find me. You'll find my Facebook. You'll find my Instagram.
Everything will be there.
Yeah, everything will be there.
She said, "There's only one Nissi."
Yeah, it's only one. Hey. There's only one Nissi in the Bible.
Hey. Yeah. So, hey, final word of encouragement. You want to share anything? Somebody is listening that you want to encourage them. Maybe there's a lot of ladies in prisons across the nation that listen. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
You can turn a hoe into a housewife. Most of the wives in the Bibles were. They were hoes or did something hoish.
Yeah.
All the way from, Rahab.
Yeah.
To just, so many other women.
Yeah, totally. They had to recognize their identity, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, we're going to give a few shout outs to end the show. Dr. Nisi Hamilton, thank you so much for being with us. And, I want to give a shout out to James Daniel Story. And they wanted me to read this one out. So this is Brandon Dupuy. I'm going to say it's Dupuy because that looks, maybe because I'm, visiting France soon. I'm like, oh no. Brandon Dupuy, I am currently serving a capital life sentence in TDC. I was born and raised in H-Town and have been watching your podcast since I have the ability to do so. This Is Real is awesome. The way y'all break topics down and explain and just the real aspect of it all is like nothing else. I also watch your church videos, but the way y'all are at that table really speaks to me. Thank you for all you do and for all y'all do and the ministry. Well, guess what, Brandon? Thank you so much for writing us a letter and letting us know if you want to know, you want us to sometimes we're trying to think of topics. So send us your topics, so we can kind of dive in and keep it real with y'all on some topics. And Pastor Stephanie has a couple things there.
We want to shout out Losado Sandoval in the WIN unit, Abraham Weber
WIN
in the WIN unit. Come on. Jimmy Guzman in Arizona. Jonathan Mancias in the Dallas County Jail. And we also want to thank all of our family in Clements unit. Paul De La Rosa, thank you so much. And Saul Chavez in the Gorey unit. We've also got Alan Oliver is listening to us through Pando on the Okaloosa Jail. Thank you so much. And Austin Morin, this is a juvenile in the Indiana Corrections. Thank you for watching. We're definitely appreciating y'all's support. And let's go to Dallas. Abraham Weber, I think already. Hernan Cortez in TDCJ Dallas. And Robert Penfield in Enfield, Connecticut. CT, right?
CT, Connecticut. What?
What's up, man?
I want to thank all the real ones. Oh, you still got.
Doesn't have a name.
You still have a couple.
Sorry, this one doesn't have a name. Polunsky, thank you guys. Congrats on my marriage.
Wow,
all right, Polunsky
unit. Yeah, come on. Billy McLean in Estelle unit. Joel Maxwell, Washington State. All right. Moses Lopez in Stringfellow unit. Thank you so much for watching. Oscar Hernandez.
A couple shout outs for
in Dallas.
Real Vida.
Yeah,
I'll be with them in August.
So much.
Who's that? Eddie Lopez.
Eddie Lopez.
Come
in
on.
Dallas.
So
thank you guys so much. He says he did time in Breckenridge.
The Styles unit. Yep. So big shout out to everybody. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Thank you for keeping it real. Don't forget to share it, and do not forget to buy a book. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Thank you. This is Real Family for joining us. You can be a part of the crew by following us on social media or writing us at P.O. Box 671-626, Houston, Texas 77267.
And don't forget, stay real.